In Ustream world, this is Mike Martin from Casio, and welcome to Casio America, where we're going to present a clinic tonight on the XW-P1 and the G1. I have them both here, and I'm going to do a few demos on each of them. If you have questions, if you're watching this live on Ustream.tv, don't forget to open up the chat window over on the left or right-hand side. Type in a question, and I'll do my best to address those questions here during this about 1 hour session tonight. For those of you that are watching this after the fact, perhaps on YouTube, this is the kind of thing that we do almost monthly here on for Casio products on either the PX5S, the XW series, and maybe soon we'll have some other products to show you. So we're going to venture perhaps into some of our portable keyboards and other areas. So use the chat window. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the questions there. Got a couple different camera views that I'll be juggling, and later when I move the G1 over here, I'm actually going to have to just disconnect cables, and that'll be kind of ugly for a moment. But just bear with me, and I'll do my best to address your questions, and hopefully you'll learn something here tonight about these great instruments. So on both the Casio Music forums and over on the Facebook group, we talked about a couple agenda items for tonight's clinic, one of which was programming Solo Synth sounds using the Solo Synth engine on either the XW-P1 and G1. And that's an area that's identical on both of those keyboards, so although I have a P1 here, everything I'm going to show you would be absolutely identical on the XW-G1. The only thing that's different really are the physical controls over on the left-hand side. Those are a little bit different between the two, and I'll address that in a little bit. So in the meantime, let's dive in and start talking about the Solo Synth. And you know, I think when the XW series came out, I think everybody heard and on the NAMM demos and all the demos, some of these sounds that had quite a bit of an edge to them. And I think the XW series got a little bit of a reputation that, you know, that's the only kind of sound that it could make as far as being this lead or bass synthesizer. So I think what we've learned since the XW series has come out is actually this engine is quite flexible. You just have to get to know it a little bit, and with a little tender loving care, you can get some absolutely amazing and expressive sounds out of it. And we've already posted a whole bunch of those that you can download on CasioMusicForums.com. We're going to continue to have new sounds posted there. We've got some more coming this summer, in fact. So but getting to some new sounds, you know, one of the first, and you know, I'm just realizing that I'm starting this clinic and I do not have a sustain pedal. There's an awkward moment, but I'll get to that in a minute. So one of the sounds that I guess kind of first opened my eyes on this product that I programmed, and this is a downloadable preset called Vangelis, and you know, I'm kind of a little bit of a fanatic about his music and the sounds that he used. A very famous synthesizer called the CS80 that he used for his melody sounds, and so here's an example of a preset that is very melodic and very expressive. I actually have filter set up on the mod wheel, a nice slow envelope. So, you know, that's just one kind of sound that I think began to open people's eyes. So what I'm going to do is show you a little bit how I approach making a lead sound or a bass sound on the XW series. And again, if you have questions along the way, I will do my best to address those. So what I've got here, I'm going to switch camera views here so you can see what I'm seeing. I'll do my best to watch the chat, keep the cameras going, and make this all flow all at the same time. So I've started, just so you can see, at a absolutely blank, untitled SoloSynth patch. And if you play one of these, you'll see that you're simply getting a sine wave sound. So just one oscillator out of the available 5 that the XW itself can create. So let's take a look under the hood and see what can happen here. So if you look on the screen right now, I press the edit button and we're looking at oscillator 1. It's turned on, and the very first oscillator is just a sine wave. There's hundreds and hundreds of different waveforms, actually just around 300 different waveforms to choose from in here, including samples of products from the original CZ series to, well, if you do some guessing, you can probably guess what some of these abbreviations, like AP, probably standing for something like an ARP, OB, Oberheim, P5, Prophet 5, and so on. That's where a lot of these sounds have come from. So a lot of choices. I'm actually, for starters here, I'm going to just stick with sine wave for the first oscillator, and then I'm going to go, and in fact I'm going to turn on all 4 oscillators. So we're going to switch to oscillator 2, which, by the way, move this camera over here. I use these buttons to the left, just underneath the volume knob here, parts plus and minus, to move between the different oscillators on the screen. So hit the minus button, I'm looking at synth 1. If I hit the plus button, synth 2, PCM 1, PCM 2, and so on. So really quickly, I can go through and turn all 4 of them on. Next, I'm going to go through, and not exactly randomly, but I'm going to make a few different choices here of different kinds of sounds. In fact, I said I was going to do a sine wave here, but I'm going to start with perhaps something with a little more character, like a triangle. I'm going to grab maybe a, yeah, let's do a square. And then for the third one, I will choose a saw. And for the last one, I'm actually going to do a different kind of saw. So let's find, all right, so I have 4 different saw waves here. Now on the XW-P1, the sliders over here on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, can control the volume of each of those. So it's very easy to hear them and blend them. On the XW-G1, you actually have to use the switches over here, and the display will indicate which oscillator you're controlling, and then you can control the volume of that oscillator. Another option is the iPad app, which gives you access to everything all on one screen, and of course the Mac and PC data editor. But I'm not going to use the computer or the iPad. I'm going to do everything from the front panel tonight just to show you how it's done. So, first oscillator, so I've got this triangle wave. I'm going to turn up the second one. And just to give it a little character, the first thing I'm going to do is detune these. So I'm going to take the second oscillator and turn it, detune it down. Take the first oscillator and move it up. And here already, it has a little bit of space. It has a little bit of flow to it. It's not sterile anymore. I'm going to go to my third and fourth oscillators, which, if you remember, they were both sawtooths. So different kinds of sawtooths, but very similar. But what I'm going to do with the fourth one is take it down an octave. Oops, I'm going to turn it up so we can hear it. So a value of -127 is going to give us a full octave. All right. There are values in between. So you can do perfect fifths. But for this purpose, I like kind of the sub-oscillator kind of sound. So just by sort of randomly selecting a couple waveforms and then doing some basic detuning and a pitch change of one of the oscillators, we're off to something pretty cool. You might have seen me a couple times reaching up and adjusting knobs 3 and 4. These by default on the XW-P1 when I'm in tone mode control the attack and release. So if I'm hearing something that you're probably hearing pretty loudly is the reverb, and I'm going to completely turn that off for now. There we go. So knobs 3 and knob 4 control attack and release. And knobs 1 and 2 are my filter and my resonance. So now that we've got kind of the controls out of the way, we've got kind of a basic sound going. I'm going to take this a step further and make this again a kind of a more expressive sound. Right now it's just, it's kind of on and off. Not really responding to velocity very much, if at all. So to make this a more expressive lead or melody kind of sound, the thing that's really going to make this sound sing is our filter, and making that respond either over time or with touch. So what I'm going to do, and again you can grab knob 1 and turn cutoff all the way down, or dial it down on the screen. Either way does the same thing. What I'm going to do is, I've got that filter closed all the way. We can't hear a whole lot. And I'm going to scroll down and start to turn up my envelope depth just a little bit. So envelope is, in this case, this will determine what happens to the sound over time. Is the filter, and let's take a look at the parameters here. So if I set my attack time with a longer value, we'll hear the sound fade in as that filter opens up. So my hand's on the key. It's actually moving very, very slowly. We'll speed it up a little bit. Alright, so that's what that filter is doing with that slow attack time. That sound is fading in. Alright. So now I actually want it, for this kind of sound that I have in my mind, I want it to be pretty quick at the beginning. So I want that to be instantly on. But what I want it to do is then close while I'm holding the key, and that's called our decay time. So if you look on the screen, I set my sustain level really low, and now I'm going to adjust my decay time. So what you hear is a sound that has a really quick filter attack and then fades out really quick. So we start experimenting with this a little bit more and actually adjusting my filter with the knob as well. Maybe adding a little bit of resonance. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Okay, so it's a little bit of experimentation. To find that level where the filter really, really, really sounds nice. So that's a real quick, with a little quicker decay time. We've really come up with something that's much more musical. Now another thing we can do here, there's actually a couple other big parameters you need to know about here on the total filter page. One is touch sensitivity. So touch sensitivity is pretty self-explanatory. If it has a positive value here, the filter is going to open. As I hit the key harder, In fact, let me turn off the envelope so we can hear this really clear. So we're back to a static sound here. So with touch sensitivity, I can hear the filter open as I hit the key harder. A negative value would do the exact opposite. Now I have to actually open the filter all the way in order to hear this. So a soft touch, then as I play harder, the sound gets a little, the filter closes on that sound. So touch sensitivity is a really nice thing you can have to make your sound more expressive. But don't forget that a lot of the old analog keyboards that perhaps you're trying to emulate here may not have been touch sensitive in the first place. So if you take a look at many of our sort of Moog sounds that we've created that you can download for free, most of them don't have touch sensitivity set up at all. So, but it is something that you can dial in yourself to make it a really nice expressive sound. Here's another one I don't use too much called key follow. Basically with a positive value, as you move up to the top of the keyboard, the sound will get brighter. As you move to the lower half of the keyboard, the sound will get darker. That filter will close. And that's based on the point that you set there with what's called key follow base. But I think my preference for like an analog sound type of emulation is to leave touch sensitivity off, leave the key follow off, and then dial in an envelope that's going to work for the kind of sound that I want. Now, one last very important parameter here on this total filter page is called envelope retrigger. And so one thing you might hear as I'm playing the keyboard, just switch to this view so you can see, the filter is closing one time. And as long as I'm sustaining or playing legato, we hear the filter only operate one time, and it stays closed based on the envelope depth that I set up. If envelope retrigger is on, it's going to follow that shape of that envelope each time I hit a key. Okay, so an important thing, again, depends on the kind of sound that you're going for, whether you want it to retrigger every time or not. Usually for a melodic kind of sound, I would probably leave that off. But if you want maybe a bass sound and you want it to pop with each note that you play, having retrigger turned on is something that that might help. So a couple other things. Let's scroll down a little bit here in our synth here and talk about some other things that can make this sound more expressive. So I'm backing out of the filter section. I'm just going to reduce this envelope just a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So I'm going to back out of my total filter section and let's cover a couple other areas real quick. One is LFO. And you'll find that by default, and remember we started with a blank sound, that by default, if you move the mod wheel, you're going to get a little bit of a nice vibrato on that sound. That is by default our LFO number 1 that is doing that, and we can control its rate. It's also something that we could have automatically sort of fade in over time. So if you'd like, you can, rather than having to move the mod wheel, you could have it on, have it set a depth value, but have that fade in or rise in over a period of time. So depending on it's kind of like having a attack time. So switching back between that depth and that rise, I can get a nice little vibrato that comes in after a little while. And I might want it a little bit faster. So LFO is a great thing to play with, and it's something that can make your sound your own. There's actually been articles by Jerry Kowarski, who's done some sound programming for us on this keyboard, some articles in Keyboard Magazine that he's done on soloing, and different types of vibratos or LFOs that you can set up in the sound to make it your own, to make it unique. So in this case, this LFO is controlling pitch. We could actually have one that's controlling filter or amplitude, which is more like a flute kind of a sound. So let's see if we can set up something like that real quick. So I'm going to go back to my filter, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and which, by the way, you don't have to hit the cursor down button a whole bunch of times to get down to the last page. You can just hit the left or right buttons to move by pages. It's a nice shortcut. So here I can set a depth for my LFO and my filter. So just for giggles, we're going to turn LFO 2 all the way up, back out of the filter, and go into my LFO 2, again using that part button here on the left. Now we can hear a little bit of the filter being controlled by that LFO. And again, we can control the rate of that. We can have it fade in, or we can control it from the modulation wheel. So a lot of different ways to control it. Let's hear it from the modulation wheel. That gives it a little bit of a almost vocal character, almost like a flute, perhaps a little bit of a kind of amplitude modulation. So you can control the filter with the LFO, you can control the pitch with the LFO, and all these things that you can use to customize this preset. So I'm going to show you one last thing, and then we're going to kind of move on to another topic unless there's questions specifically about this. So I'm going to go back in and turn off my modulation wheel for that LFO. I'm going to talk about a section here. It's on the main page, and it's called Virtual Controllers. This is a way that you can set up physical controllers such as mod wheels, even things like the pedal or the knobs, or other devices like iPads and whatnot to control aspects of the synth in real time. So right now, and there's actually, let's see, 8 virtual controllers that we can set up. So they can do all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is just show you a quick example. Source 1, I'm going to make my source, or my modulation source, the actual mod wheel. And I'm going to set, well, its depth currently is turned up all the way. And if you take a look at destinations on the bottom screen, you can see all the different things that we can control. So one thing we might do is control that filter. So the nice thing about these is we can set up a nice range amount, how much depth, to really get it to feel nice. To feel nice. But you can get in and do all kinds of crazy things with virtual controllers. As an example, let's see. We could take an oscillator, such as Synth 1, and we could control its pitch. So check this out. So I have it set up, so when I move the mod wheel forward, that sound is moving an octave. And in fact, an octave down, of course, we can make it go another direction. So if you're really looking for something that's different and unique, you could set up a whole bunch of these that actually went in different directions in real time. Let's see, 27. So I could go and choose my second oscillator and choose pitch. So that's getting out there a little bit, but really outrageous real-time capabilities using virtual controllers. So I could even continue to do this and assign different parameters to this mod wheel that get changed in real time. So some amazing possibilities. There are some sounds, again, that you can download all online that sort of already take some of these things into play. I think if I can find an example here. Yeah. So that's a variation on a factory preset, and that's basically the only thing I've done there is use the mod wheel to throw each of those oscillators into a different pitch. So really get some outrageous sounds and really expressive sounds. So dig into the downloadable presets. There's some great ones that, again, Jerry Kowarski's done, that a few that I've done myself. So apologize for the loud level there. That really take advantage of the filter and the unique tools that the XW has to offer. So I'm going to take a quick look at the questions. Yeah, I forgot to have a pedal, and I'm going to take a quick look around the room here in a second. Yes, you can absolutely set a sustain pedal, Footswitch, or whatever to control any of those parameters in real time. So I'm going to step away from the camera for just 1 second. In fact, I can grab a quick pedal. Hang on 1 second. And after a quick sprint down the hallway, I'm back, and I do have a pedal hooked up now. Let's just check, make sure that works. And it does. Okay. So what I was going to show you was another example of a lead sound. And again, quick variation on a factory preset where I use this virtual controllers, and in this case, let me find it. I set my hold pedal to control Portamento time. So, in this case, we got a really cool lead sound. If I step on the sustain pedal, so you're actually hearing another thing that the XW series does, very unique compared to some other keyboards, is that I've got independent Portamento time on each oscillator. So I can have them all go at different rates. All right. So that's just some of the tricks that I use when I make some unique solo sounds. Again, I encourage you to check out the downloadable presets that are up on Casio music forums and dig in there. All right. So I spent more time than I planned on that particular section, so we're going to move on real quick. to some other topics. All right. So next thing I'm going to cover, and actually, no, I'm not going to go to the G1 just yet. Next thing I'm going to cover is the phrase sequencer. So there's actually I actually get a lot of questions on this video that I made that does this particular demo, and this is just one way that you can use the phrase sequencer. So what I've got going on here is a bass sound in the left hand and electric piano in the right, and and I've even done kind of a little shuffle drum beat here too. So using the phrase sequencer, you can do some really remarkable things for live performance, especially if you're not entirely coordinated with both of your hands. So what I'm going to do is, while the sequencer is running, and you should be able to see the screen here, see what I'm doing, I'm going to hit the phrase record button, and I'll move this camera just a touch. Well, don't know that we're going to be able to see all those buttons at the same time along with the display. All right, but phrase record button here, which starts blinking, and that brings us to this screen. So here we can see our record mode, whether we're doing a new phrase or if we're doing things like quantizing, which is will correct your timing a little bit. And while you're here, if you press the menu button to the right of the display, you get a couple other things that I use pretty often. First of which is the guide click. Okay, if that is on, you're going to get a metronome beep. Since I have a drum beat already on, I don't need it. I have the guide beat turned off. And press the exit button, I'm back to phrase record. So basically all I need to do, I'm also going to set my end quantize to 1 measure. So while my drum beat is playing, all I have to do is start playing, and the phrase sequencer will kick in and start recording. So now I'm hands free. And it will just loop over and over and over and over again. So it will, and it's in sync with the drum beat that I was playing. So I apologize that I've got 3 camera angles here, but it's not none of them are ideal to cover everything here. But I'll do it one more time just so everybody's clear. I've got a basic drum pattern in the step sequencer, and I'm going to use the phrase recorder. So here's a look at the phrase recorder. I'm going to do a new sequence, and I'll quantize to 16th notes if I want. And at this point, all I need to do is begin playing. So as long as I just play along with the drum pattern, and it'll just start recording instantly. Hit the record button, and it starts looping. Okay, so I've created a quick loop along with this drum pattern that I had going. Now, if you take a look on the screen, you've also got a button labeled Key Play. If Key Play is enabled, I can now take this phrase And when I play a key on the keyboard, sorry, I hit the wrong button. When I hit a key on the keyboard, that phrase will begin playing. If I hit a different key, it will actually transpose that sequence across the keyboard as I want. So, I realize it's getting a little complicated, but this was where I was going to the next section. If you were to make proper use of performance mode, you can actually have multiple sounds across the keyboard at one time. So I could have a bass sound, an electric piano, and then maybe my solo lead at the top of the keyboard. To answer one of the questions that's online, the phrase sequencer is only one track, but as you heard, I'm recording multiple instruments at the same time. I don't have to do the bass and the electric piano at the same time. I can use overdub mode to do that. But once I've recorded something, then I can play on top of it, either with the same sounds. In this performance, I only have 2 set up. But I could use the octave shift keys and have a third sound or fourth sound on different, just by using the octave shift buttons, trigger different instruments. So lots of flexibility here. It's absolutely amazing tool. I've got other examples of where I've used the phrase sequencer that this is actually some things that we do at the NAMM show that maybe you haven't heard before in a video. So from a very cool movie. Again, I've got kind of a basic step sequence going on over here with 4 tracks, one of which is that repeated note. But the phrase is assigned to this bass sound in the low octave. So that's just the phrase recorder. Okay. So, phrase sequencer is a great performance tool. Again, in that case, playing a bass line while my hands were busy playing that lead. Another example where I've used it, the Blade Runner demo, that again, there's a YouTube video just for that. I used the phrase just to play one note. So I just recorded one long note. That was all was in my phrase, and I assigned that phrase to one sound in the bottom octave of the keyboard. So when I play that note, it just continues to sustain. I think I did it for about 60 seconds. The reason I did it that way is now in the middle of the keyboard, I have this sort of vintage string sound that I can use with the sustain pedal. And then on the top of the keyboard, I have a lead sound. So I mean, this is pretty amazing stuff that, you know, in a 61 key keyboard here, that, you know, so that's, you know, some obviously somewhat creative use of performance mode. You can see on the screen the different zones that I have set up here. So I've got my string sound in the middle of the keyboard, my bass sound on the bottom, and the lead sound on top. That's what those little lines on the screen are indicating, are all the different ways you can, I have the sounds either layered or split. So when you get into performance mode, there's a section called sequencers. And if you scroll down, there's a section called phrase. And look, I made a phrase called long note. That's all it is. All right. Now when I go to my zone, you can see that each zone has its own phrase switch. So zone 1, which is my lead, isn't responding, isn't playing that long note. Neither is zone, there it is, zone 2, that's my bass line. The phrase is on. And so is zones 3 and 4, which are also sort of doubling that. So that's, again, kind of just another way. Each zone can either respond or not to that phrase that you've got going. One other quick example of a phrase, kind of a goofy one. Well, not goofy, it's actually really cool, if you can see the screen. Another kind of demo that we came up with at NAMM, if you've ever tried to play this song, it's not an easy one. Especially that little riff that's in open fourths or fifths that you have to do in tempo. So since it was difficult to play in real time, we slowed the tempo way down and played the riff and saved it and assigned it to a note or a range of notes here on the top of the keyboard. So again, with a sequence going, you can do something like this. So I just have it set up so when I play that last chord, the riff is set up on my pinky. So again, one phrase, and you can have your zone either respond to it or not. Wish we had multiple zone or multiple phrases for each zone, but that's not the case. All right. So pretty amazing trick. So a little bit of Toto's Africa for you. All right. Now, one more thing. Actually, forget that. I'm going to do the keyboard swap here. We're going to move to the XW-G1, where I want to do some quick sequencer automation tricks, as well as one other step sequencer trick. And although I'm using the G1 here just for some different sounds, what I'm going to show you can happen on the P1 here as well. So I'm just going to pause the video for just one moment while I swap these two keyboards out. Hang on. And we're almost back, getting these cameras realigned. Here I am. Appreciate the pause. So, XW-P1, G1, the differences are covered pretty well online. I'm just using the G1 here primarily because I'd previously promised a video where I was going to show this, and honestly, I never finished it. So I thought, well, tonight, why not I just try and do it live, and then it will be done because this video will be put on YouTube later on. So now, what I've got going on here with this particular performance, I have a step sequence, kind of a basic dance groove. Let me just I'm going to turn this off entirely and start from scratch. If you haven't seen me do a step sequence demo, let's let me show you how it's done. So, I have the step sequencer. I'm in step sequence mode. The only thing I've done at this point is in advance I went ahead and chose which sounds I wanted to use. So on the screen we're looking at drum track 1. I hit the mixer button and I dialed in already some drum sounds that are again available to download online. So you see I'm using a combination of some sampled drum kits as well as some that are built in. And basically, with that being said, as long as you have your sound set up, you can hit the start button over on the left hand side. Your sequencer is running, so you can just quickly get your 4 on the floor happening pretty quick. Okay, hit the part plus button and go to my next track, add my clap. Hit the part plus button again, and add in my hi-hat part. I mean, it doesn't get any faster than that to create an amazing groove. Some quick things that not a lot of people know. I'll do real fast. Is that each of those tracks can have independent swing, and you can get in and adjust those in real time. There's a track parameters page where you can change the swing values for each of those tracks by changing the groove. So, okay, so there's a little bit of a shuffle now on that hi-hat part. Okay, so now that I've got that, I want to show two things that honestly aren't normally clear with a lot of people. Is one, how to take a sound that we have on the keyboard and then play that into the step sequencer. All right, so I got my sound selected, and basically I've done two things. First of all, while step sequencer is selected, I hit the menu button to the right of the display, and actually scroll down below. There's a setting. There's a menu selection here called Setting. And the first parameter on the top of the screen says Solo 1, Channel 1. And I apologize, that's a little confusing. What that is referring to is step sequencer track 1. So if I look at all my different tracks I have here, there's one called Solo 1. I can determine whether it's accessing MIDI channel 1, which is my Solo Synth, or the default is track 14, which is one of the other PCM sounds on board. So if I want to sequence this TB style sound that I've made into the step sequencer, that's the first thing I need to do, is make sure that that switch has been flipped over in the menu there. Next thing I need to do is actually put it in step edit mode, because now the keyboard is live, allowing me to play a part into the step sequencer. Okay, so you just, I'll do that again just so you can see. I'm going to just clear that out. You see me play it. Okay, make a mistake. Okay, so now I've got a really quick sort of TV style bass line. And the next thing you might want to do, well, of course, we can just grab the filter knob or whatever and play with this sound in real time. Okay, but maybe you want to automate that. The XW series has 4 what are called controller tracks. So if I go to the screen here, your first 9 tracks, drums 1 through 5, you have a bass line, and then 2 solo tracks, a chord track. That's your 9th track. And then you see that there are 4 what are called controller tracks. So these can be used for all kinds of automation. Yes, Ustreamer 499381, you absolutely can do this on an XW-P1. Everything I've shown tonight can be done on both products. I have this bass line going, and now I'm going to go back into Step Edit. So make sure at the top of the screen you've got Control Track 1 selected. And basically you see at the top on the screen here it says, you might not know what that means, it says NOP. That means no op, it has no operation. So the first thing you need to do, and you need to do this while the step sequencer is not running, is change this parameter from no op to the parameter that you want to control in real time. It could be something like pan position. So take a listen. Now, by the way, now that I've made a selection, my sliders, if you look at the right-hand side of the screen, my sliders now control the pan position. Whoops, by the way, the last slider controls all the parts. So we can move those sliders, select my second row, and have this sound pan left and right using the sliders. So we have a little bit of panning automation happening with that sound. But I'm going to do something a little bit more fun. Rather than control pan position, I'm going to go and choose filter. So controller number 74 is my filter. And so now for each of those 16 steps, I'm now adding a little bit of panning automation, or excuse me, filter automation. Which, by the way, that sound ended up panned far left. Let me put it back in the middle. So just moving slider 16 while the part is while the step sequencer is rolling. If I move this slider while the step sequencer is rolling, it's actually going to record each of those 16 steps. So I've got the filter kind of closed at the beginning, it opens up a little bit, and then closes back down. Really, really cool way to add all kinds of automation to your tracks. I've got 3 more controller tracks. So I can have one doing filter, I can have one doing pan position, I can have one doing something else, so on and so forth. So really, really amazing way to work. Those controller tracks are very powerful. All right, I have one last quick thing to show you, and then I'm going to double check the questions here. I'm going to have to wrap things up for the night. So I took the automation off. And I'm actually going to change this particular tone real quick, just a little bit. I want that filter to be a little more closed. There we go. So I'm using that depth control that we talked about earlier. Alright, so now that I've done that, I want to show you a trick that is one of my favorite things on the XW series, and it's hidden in the mixer. So if I hit the mixer section and I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a DSP switch. And basically what this switch does, and you see that it's off for all of my parts except for if I hit part plus and minus at the same time, it takes me back to part 1, which is that baseline sound. The DSP is always on for that part. But if I scroll left one more time, you see it now says all parts. If I enable the DSP for all parts, you see the display now indicates that it's on or off for all parts. I can switch back and forth there. Now, all of my parts are running through the Solo Synth. So we say it's 6 oscillators, technically it's 7, because every instrument sound on the XW series can run through the Solo Synth engine and its filter. Can't see me, I'm just turning that filter knob. So going back to what we learned with the sequencer automation, I'm going to go to Step Edit, I'm going to go to my controller track, and now automate that filter. I got to set it to filter control. And now I can just move this slider a little bit while it's running. And you can completely automate those things, which, by the way, the automation track can go at a different tempo than everything else. So check this out. I'm going to go back to track parameters for my controller track, and instead of being 16th notes, I can make it quarter notes. I can also have it smooth those values rather than jump from one to the other. So now it takes 4 measures to run through that filter pattern that I've drawn on the screen. And again, kind of randomize it however you want. Goes through not only the filter but the effects, and absolutely amazing sounds out of that. So yes, the video will go onto YouTube now. You might, if you're watching this for the first time, you might actually be seeing it on YouTube later on. It takes a little while to get sent over there and get re-encoded on YouTube. But tonight we covered programming the Solo Synth a little bit. We dove a little bit into the phrase sequencer and how we can use those in a performance. We got into step recording our Solo Synth sound into the step sequencer, and last but not least, we learned how to take our entire sequence and run it through the Solo Synth's filter and effects. So a lot of information tonight in a pretty short period of time. A couple closing comments real quick. Coming up in just about 1 month from now, if you are in the area or within a drive or a short flight of Nashville, Tennessee, we are going to have the first annual Casio Users Conference on Sunday following the end of the NAMM show at the Renaissance Hotel in downtown Nashville, beginning at 11 a.m. and running till about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Will basically be all-day sessions like this across the PX5, the XW series, and more. There'll be myself, some other Casio employees, and hopefully some special guests there as well. We're going to serve lunch, and we'll have refreshments there as well. Should be a great time. The sign-up form for this will be going up at the end of this week on Casio Music Gear. Seating attendance will be limited. We'll have room for about 50 people. So if you think you can make it to Nashville, you're going to get some hands-on one-on-one time with me and just, again, some other Casio employees where you can learn and ask more questions about these products that obviously we really love and enjoy. So again, appreciate everyone's time tonight, and thank you for attending this clinic here on Ustream, and I hope to see you on the next one here at ustream.tv/Casio Music Gear. And thanks everyone, Scott Hamlin and everybody on the Facebook users group and the Casio music forums for supporting our products, and look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Take care. Good night.